I can still clearly remember going with a friend and his mom to a local single-screen theater in 1981 to see Raiders of the Lost Ark. Well, I had no idea what it was about, but going to the movies was better than doing nothing, and at least I get to hang out with my buddy and eat popcorn. But this wasn't just another movie. Turned out, this was Raiders. Before the end credits rolled, I was already trying to figure out who I could talk into taking me to see it again, and how soon. Well, when the opportunity to write an Atari VCS game based on this film was offered up at Atari, Howard Scott Warshaw, fresh off his first game, Yars Revenge, volunteered. He wanted to create an adventure game that echoed story beats in the movie with multiple rooms, items, and things to do, but he didn't want to follow the adventure model of carrying just one thing at a time. So he devised an inventory system that requires both joysticks in order to move Indy and also manage your items. The end result? Well, a somewhat divisive game that was dismissed by some as too complex, but for me, I absolutely loved it, and still do. In this Friday Plays video, I'm going to take you on a full tour and playthrough of the adventure, and of course, we'll be hunting down Howard's Easter eggs along the way. So grab your whip and fedora, and let's get started.
Okay, here's Raiders of the Lost Ark. When you first start it up, it's playing this theme, just a little loop of the song, slightly out of tune, who cares? But I'm going to reset it because when I do, you'll see the very, very beginning, which is like a preview of the ending. Your score is how high Indy is on this little scissor lift thing. You see the arc at the top, Indy lowers, and you're ready to start. So let me reset the game. There we go. And at this point, you're ready to get started. Now, what I'm doing, I'm playing this on emulation. It requires two controllers, but you can see here below me, I have my Xbox controller, and I've mapped both the controllers, all the buttons I need and all the directionals I need to this controller. So I can play it with just one in my hand through emulation, which is pretty handy. But I wanted you to see what I was doing if you want to map it yourself, controller 1 and controller 2 to the bumpers and everything. So, and let me hit the button. Okay. So at the start of the game, you start in this opening little map. There's Indy, a little pink Indy. He changes colors depending on what room he is in. Why did it have to be snakes? There's a snake. And the very first thing you see is this whip down there that you need to grab. Now you can use that whip periodically. Different times in the game, you can actually use it to kill the snake if you're efficient at it. I'm not. But you have this little whip. Get him. There, I got the snake. And you start with a bag of gold. So the bottom is your inventory, where you can... Let me get down where the snake isn't. Okay, here's down to the market. You can navigate your inventory with the second controller. I have that mapped to my bumpers, and I can navigate between them. Then your main button is kind of use the thing you're carrying, and then the button on the other controller is to spend, or I guess expend, consume an item. So for example, if I want to purchase this flute, okay, let's buy it. And when we enable the flute, it makes you immune to the snake, or actually tsetse flies or spiders or all kinds of stuff. So now you can see I don't get killed. All right, let me turn off this flute. So the entire game consists of navigating the map. There's 15 screens or so total, I think. Navigating that map, managing your inventory, and finding the Lost Ark of the Covenant in the same way that Indy did it in the movie. So I'm going to reset the game, and we're going to start from scratch. And I will tell you, there are more efficient ways to complete this game, but the steps I'm going to follow are the ones that give you the best tour of the game and all the elements of it. So here we go. And he lowers, and away we go. All right, first things first, I'm actually going to start with the Easter egg because it's easier to do it now than do it later. So let's grab the whip. Let's come down here. So to get the Easter egg, we are going to need to first get into the treasure room. So I'm going to get that grenade. We're going to drop that grenade, and then when we leave, it'll blow up, and now there's a hole in the wall. So we can head over here through this hole in the wall. Here's a timepiece. We'll need that clock, certainly. Now, I'm almost never going to go to this room, this silly room, this thing. There's tsetse flies that'll paralyze you. There's a spider that's shooting at you. He gets mad when you touch the wall, tries to come get you. Oh, there, they just touched me and froze me for a second. That room is like a red herring. There's never anything you have to do in that room. The timepiece, on the other hand, very handy. If you select it, it will show you the time of day. And some things only happen at certain times of day. So when you come into this room, you're immediately in this little dungeon, so you can use your whip or your gun to shoot out of it. And kind of, if you bump into anything, it'll throw you back in there. So you just have to dodge the walls. Then we go and collect. Now, this is the treasure room. The treasure room consists of treasure, which I can pick up. As soon as I do, the snake shows up, and one of 3 different items. And the one that we want in particular, a couple that we want, but one we want in particular is the chai, which is that one, which looks for all the world like a bunch of bananas with a handle on it or something. And we also want the ankh, both of those things. Now, you could just grab the treasure and see what pops up, but using the timepiece, different things pop up in the treasure room at different times of the day. So, for example, if we want the ankh, let's see, 6 o'clock is a good time to get the ankh, so let's grab it, and there it is. There's the ankh that we wanted. Now, for our purposes, we want gold to the left of the chai down there. You'll see why in a second. So let's drop this treasure. We pick up that ankh. I'm going to go back to the shop. Ooh, watch out, snake. I'm going to go back to the shop and buy a parachute. Back across here. Don't touch the walls or you get stuck. And listen to that sound. That's Yars Revenge nibbling sound. Like, yeah. And then we're going to go and buy a parachute using that gold. There we go. Now we have a parachute. We've spent it. Now, just below the market is the mesas. You're up on top of these mesas with a valley down below. And you get this little, what is it, like a boomerang, like what is it, like a grappling hook, I think, on a rope that you can use to navigate. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to use the ankh, because the ankh will teleport you to that space. Here we go. There we are. So the way this works is you can extend and shorten your little grappling hook thing, and when the end of it is over a place you want to go, you hit the button and you end up there. Now the ankh is very nice because if you miss, because its job is to teleport you here, you can jump right back here. So let me fall and I'll show you what I mean. Hit the button, it teleports me right back here. The ankh is the best way to navigate these mesas. So we're going to go up here to this oddly UFO-shaped mesa, and after we drop, if we throw away this chai piece, the Easter egg is going to pop. Now I'm going to do 3 things in rapid succession, or 4. I'm going to jump off this mesa, I'm going to drop the chai, I'm going to deploy my parachute, then I'm going to pause emulation so we can talk about what we're seeing. So here we go. Ready? Paused. Okay. Now, here's what we've got. If you look at the top, you can see the Yar. That's the first part of the Easter egg, so we've accomplished that. Then we have, we need to deploy the parachute right away. That's why I wanted money right after the ankh, or right after the chai, so that when I dropped the chai, the selector would jump to the parachute, and I didn't have to navigate to get to the parachute. Now, you should also observe there's this tree branch hanging out from the side. We're going to need that at the end. That's where we're going to get the Well of the Souls later. But for now, we're going to resume the game. It's going to drop us to the valley below the mesas where we have to avoid a robber and some tsetse flies and stuff. But keep in mind, we saw the Yar. Part 1 of the Easter egg is done. So let's resume. All right, so we got to avoid these guys. Will freeze us. That bad guy will rob us. And we're out. Now, we're back up to this space. We're happy. We're safe. Now we start the actual game of the game. So we need to go and find out where is the Ark hidden in which one of these mesas. So we start collecting things from these baskets. See, there's the key. The gun is there. I never use the gun. It's overrated. There's also the headpiece of the staff that is in one of these baskets eventually. You just kind of have to wait for it to pop up. So through the magic of editing, I will fast forward to when it pops into my inventory. Oh, I don't have to. There it is. For the first time in forever, it didn't take forever to get to. All right, so we have the key we need and the headpiece. So now we have to go back to the treasure room. All right, so we know we want the ankh, so let's check the time. The ankh does show up at the northeast position, so let's grab treasure. Perfect. Now, if you don't know when those things pop up or you haven't figured out where all the locations are, I'll throw in the description, I'll put my little chart of what time things show up, but you could just trial and error it. And keep in mind, as I mentioned at the beginning, there are more efficient ways to do this. I'm doing this in a way that you get the best tour of the game. All right, so we didn't have to go that far. We're going to teleport right to the mesas. Off we go. Now we're headed to the map room. We'll use our little Indiana Jones grappling hook on a rope to work our way down to the bottom of this screen that scrolls. There we go. And then this last one at the bottom. There we go. Now, center yourself dead center of the screen and go down. Here we go. This is the map room. Now, why don't I see the map? Well, that requires the key. So I'm going to select the key. Aha! Look at there. And now we see the map room. So we're going to walk over to the dead center of this room. This is pixel perfect. It must be dead center. Now, let's check the time. Oh, it's 6. At noon, I guess there's no PM in this game. Anyway, it's a 12-hour day. At noon, the sun is going to rise at the top of this, and then we can use the headpiece to find out on which mesa the Lost Ark is buried. So I'm just going to wait a little bit. Okay, it just rolled over to noon. Keep an eye at the top of the screen above the map. You'll see the sun start to peek in. There it is. There it is. And while the sun is out, we go over to the headpiece. Look at that flicker. That tells us exactly which of these mesa tops we're going to have to eventually go to get our ark. So now Easter egg is done. We know where the thing is through the map room, so go back to the key. Now, interestingly, with the key, you can do some crazy things like, walk out into the sky and do that nutty stuff. Okay, we have 2 more steps. We need to buy a shovel, I'll show you that in a second, and find the ark. So for now, though, I'm just going to go south out through the bottom, and we're dropped into this, like a bunch of, I guess they're criminals or robbers or whatever. If you touch them, they'll take stuff from you. Just work your way down at the bottom of the screen, and you'll go out here. Now, this is the black market. This is where you can buy bullets for your gun if you're so inclined. It's also where you can get a shovel to dig for the ark. Now, finally, I'm going to use a save state here. The lunatic is on the left. We're going to have to deal with him later, but if you pass him without paying him, watch what happens. Indy dies. So I'm going to undo that so we didn't actually do that. We're going to buy anything here. We're just going to go and get some money and some other stuff to begin the second phase of our adventure. Now, it's at this point that I will mention, if you haven't already, you should be checking out our merch store, because not only do we have cool, nerdy stuff from all kinds of video games, there's Indiana Jones-inspired stuff too. So please visit GenXGrownUp.com/merch and see what kind of cool stuff is there. I guarantee you're going to find at least one design you think is neat, and maybe something you want to pick up and help support the channel. So we're going to drop things we don't need. We don't need the headpiece. We don't need the key. We'll need money eventually. Now, I like to touch a basket so I can see where the snake is, because his X position is the same on both screens, and it keeps him from getting me by surprise on the next screen. You actually have 3 lives in this game. We're not going to die even once. I mean, we did that one with the lunatic as an example, but in a good run-through, there's no reason you have to die. All right, so we're going to start picking up things that we know we need. In this case, we need the chai and 3 bags of gold. So there's a bag of gold. That's the hourglass. We don't need that. The hourglass is a poor man's ankh. In more advanced run-throughs, you might need that, but you probably aren't going to need that in an average playthrough. The ankh does everything that the hourglass does and then some. So, all right, the chai will show up next at, let me look at my chart, 9 o'clock. So we just have to wait for 9 o'clock to get here. Well, I can go ahead and grab a second bag of gold because we need 3. All right, clock says 9 o'clock. Let's grab gold. Sure enough, there's the chai. We'll drop some gold, pick that up. All right. You remember, we did find a way to get to the black market by going all the way through the mesa field, but there is another way. I love that Yars noise. There's another way. If you'll take that chai and go to the guy who's selling stuff that has a black outfit on, he knows about the black market. So I give him this chai. Boop. He teleports us there. Now, we're on the wrong side of the lunatic. So we'll give him 1 bag of gold, and he won't hurt us. Now we pass right through. Shovel costs 2. 1, 2. Now, we're almost there. We have everything that we need. We have the shovel. Now we need to make our way there with a parachute. So let's head back to the treasure room to restock our supplies. In this case, all we need is the ankh and at least 1 bag of gold. So let's see what time it is. The ankh will next show up at the next tick, so we'll wait for it to go off of noon to the northeast position. There it is. So let's grab a bag of gold. Let's grab the ankh. There we go. We don't need this key at all. This is the final run. I always walk over that thing. I like hearing the Yars beep. Okay, let's purchase a parachute. Got it. Now let's use the ankh to teleport us to the mesa field. All right. Do you remember where it was? This is the trick. you have got to remember where it was in the map room. Jot it down on a piece of paper if your memory is not great. So we're going to teleport over to where it is, this lower right one. There we go. Now, drop the Ankh. Now, remember when we got the Easter egg? We saw the Yar. What we want to do is we're going to deploy our parachute, and then we're going to use it to hook on that branch sticking out from the side of the cliff wall, and it'll slide right into the Well of Souls. This is by far the hardest skill to master in this game. And if you fail, you got to go all the way back around to do it. But once you get the hang of it, it's not so tough. So here we go. Just going to step right off, parachute, and hook. There it is. It's just that easy. After you've fallen 800 times, you'll see it's just that easy. So use your shovel to dig over here. Have the shovel selected. Now, if you're not in the right place, you'll just drop into that valley again where the robber is. But we know we're in the right place, so here we go. We've done it! Plus, look in the inventory. HSW2. That indicates that you found the Yar, and 2 for, this is Howard Scott Warshaw's second game. So, we found the Yar Easter Egg. We got to the map room, found out where the Ark was hidden, bought the shovel from the black market, and then took it to the right place, dropped it on the side of the hill, and we dug it up, and we win. And the higher you are on this little scissory lifty thing is how high your score is. Now, this is the highest I've ever gotten. I have seen people with just a smidgen taller. I don't know. This is pretty much a perfect game, give or take. There's a few things I didn't buy or places I didn't go maybe, but that, in all of its glory, is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
When I was a kid, Raiders was in heavy rotation in my VCS. It may seem that once you've completed the adventure, there's nothing else to do, but something about the rules and mechanics of the game and the somewhat cryptic rating system of Indy on the scissor lift kept me replaying time after time to try and do just a little bit better. And eventually, it wasn't even the score, but just the joy of playing and finding new and interesting ways to play in this little sandbox that I found so fun and relaxing and still do today. What about you? Do you play Raiders on your 2600? Were you a fan? Has this walkthrough in any way changed your opinion toward the game? Please let me know down in the comments, and of course, also keep those suggestions coming for future installments in this series. I will throw links to previous entries here and here that you can check out. I certainly hope you found something to enjoy in this video, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.